Good day to all the viewers of Marine Biz TV. It's quarter deck time and this is your host Srijit welcoming all the viewers to quarter deck. In the earlier quarter deck series, eminent personalities from within the marine industry have been interviewed and a lot of information have been shared between us. Today, it's a different industry. We have the port, transport and logistic industry today to be discussed. And we have a very eminent personality with us, Mr. Keith Nuttall, the commercial manager of Gulf Tainer Company Limited. Hello and welcome to Quarter Deck.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on the program.
For our viewers, could you tell us about Gulf Tainer Company and its birth in the UAE?
Gulf Tainer is a private UAE company. It's a sharjah company with sharjah shareholders, and it's been in existence for just over 30 years. In fact, last year was our 30th anniversary. So we've been in the UAE and working in the UAE for a long time, 30 years or 31 years to be precise.
Operating and managing on behalf of Sharjah port authorities and for the Koffakan terminals would have a lot of understanding between the authorities of Sharjah and yourself, because unless you have a very good understanding and the empathy between both the organizations, that has to be there. Now, it requires a lot of management also, sort of relation between the authorities and yourself. How well have you managed it until date?
It's a very good question, and I think it's a very important point because obviously nothing is going to happen properly unless there is proper coordination and respect on both sides. And we have been very fortunate that the people with whom we work in the Sharjah Port Authority have always been very constructive and proactive in working with us to improve the facilities that we have to offer and the services that we offer to our customers. So I think firstly the management now, SPA, absolutely first class. We have an excellent relationship with them, and of course we work together with them in expanding the facilities, in looking to improve the facilities at the two main terminals that we operate in Koffakan and Sharjah. And both facilities have already been expanded recently or are in the process of being expanded now. And that could not happen without very close cooperation with our colleagues at SPA.
Your operation in Koffakan is a value-added advantage to Gulf Tainer. And it could give birth to a sentence or a phrase in our language, advantage Gulf Tainer. Now, how important is your operation in Koffakan, and how important is it to the UAE shipping industry as a whole? I would clearly say UAE shipping industry as a whole. How important is it?
Well, you're asking all the right questions, aren't you? I mean, you're a professional in this business, so you're asking the right questions, because sometimes the answers are difficult to give because the question doesn't mean anything. But the questions you're asking are very, very pertinent. And the thing about Koffakan these days is that it is outside the Straits of Hormuz. It's on the eastern coast of the UAE, with easy access these days, even easier access compared with other gateways in the region to the central core conurbation of Dubai and Sharjah, which, as we all know, is where all the businesses are. So it's very easy access and very quick access. And this is important. It's important for the UAE because these days, as the UAE economy grows, you need more gateways. You need options for customers to look at the ways that they move their business. Secondly, the way that the infrastructure is, how shall we say, under some pressure at the moment, the road infrastructure, particularly in certain parts of the UAE, people are looking for alternatives. So you need alternatives to deliver your goods and take collection of your goods. Koffakan offers for the majority of businesses in the UAE a quicker and easier alternative, given the infrastructural problems that exist. So for the UAE as a whole, it's an absolutely vital strategic location which allows business for the UAE itself to come in and out very quickly and easily, and also offers an opportunity for the UAE businesses. As I say, we've said it acts as a hub port for the whole region. So I think it's one of the few terminals in the region that can take the increasingly sizable container ships. We already cope with ships of 8,500, 9,500 TEU. Later this year, we'll be dealing with ships of 11,000 TEU in that terminal. there are, in the whole of this part of the world, there are a handful of terminals that can do this. Only a handful. Most terminals can't. We can. We have the draft, we have the equipment, we have the key length to cope with those ships quickly and easily. And I mean quickly and easily because Khor Fakkan is the fastest container terminal probably in the world. Seriously, I mean that, in terms of regular, week by week, consistent, fast performance on ships. And that's important for ship owners because their ships are not hanging about for days on end, waiting to berth, taking days to be discharged or loaded. And also it's important for customers because their boxes are not sitting out there waiting again for days on end. They are delivered, they're discharged quickly, and their premises in the UAE quickly. So I think it's absolutely a vital link for both Sharjah and the UAE.
Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. These words are now very common in the construction industry or development sector. Now, your next phase development in the Khor Fakkan ports, is it underway?
As you rightly say, I'm sorry to say we use these terms as well, but phase one, which was a 400-metre expansion of the Khor Fakkan terminal, was completed the middle of last year, and that's been operating very, very well indeed since that was completed. We also took delivery at the time of 4 Super Post Panamax gantry cranes, which are, these are state-of-the-art gantry cranes which can reach 22 rows of containers across, which means they can cope with the biggest container ships that exist. So that's important. So those container ships now are calling Khor Fakkan because we have the facilities, we have the deep draft, we have the additional key, we have the right equipment to cope with them. So phase 1 was completed last year, and phase 2, which is another over 400 metres of quay with another, probably another 6 container gantry cranes, new container gantry cranes, will be completed by the end of 2008. That work is underway now, but we have to do that because, as I said a moment ago, shipping lines are investing in bigger and bigger and bigger container ships. So we have to provide the facilities for those ships to be able to work quickly and easily in our facilities. Otherwise, they can't come. They can't come. They just, you know, there's no point in them even looking at us. And because Khor Fakkan is very fast, because it's in the right geographical location, and because it can cope with these big ships, then the big shipping operators with their big ships call in Khor Fakkan, both for UAE cargo and for regional distribution. So it's very important that we continue those developments so that people are able to call. Around the rest of the world, in Europe, for example, there are increasing problems with congestion and slow working because terminals have not developed as fast as they could to cope with a rapidly developing industry with bigger and bigger ships. And as those bigger ships come on, they have bigger and bigger feeder ships. So you need more and more space, you need more and more quay length, you need better and better equipment. So we, and I'm pleased to say, thankfully, the support of the Sharjah government and the Sharjah Port Authority have developed the port to cope with those increasing demands from shipping lines and their customers.
If you look into the rapid growth within the Sharjah ports and within the respective areas of your business, the volume is increasing in a very tremendous rate. It's totally busy every day. Yeah. People don't have time, and it's packed. You know, it's tight. So as the days go by, don't you think that more and more expansion will be required as the years go? And if such a thing happens, when do you think you feel that expansion should take place?
Very valid points, and I think, as you say, I think that the challenges for any business, and certainly in our industry, are to try and assess what the requirements will be, not just tomorrow, but a few years down the line. So as we've already said, I'm pleased to say that we've already expanded Khor Fakkan Container Terminal, and further expansion is going ahead to cater for the demands physically of the big ships and the volume of business over the next few years. And this also applies to our smaller terminal in Sharjah Container Terminal, where there are some limitations on what we can do, but certainly because that terminal also is very, very busy and volume growth has been really quite dramatic over the last few years, there is expansion going on there. We've already brought in 3 new mobile cranes over the last year, increasing the cargo handling capacity, and 2 fixed shore gantry cranes, which are called post-Panamax cranes, have been ordered for delivery early part of 2008. So we have rapidly and dramatically expanded the cargo handling equipment, and we're also, in cooperation with Sharjah Port Authority, going to take another berth at right angles to the one we have now, more container stacking area, and also improving the draft so that bigger ships can come and call at the container terminal, and we also have more capacity, as you rightly say, not only to cope with these ships quickly, but also to store those containers there on the terminal and handle them on the terminal for the bigger volumes that are coming through on the bigger ships. So absolutely that's happening in Sharjah as well. And linked to that is, and I'm very pleased we did it 3-4 years ago, is to open the Sharjah ICD linked to Khor Fakkan in an out-of-city location away from the congestion which, as we've said, bedevils the inner city areas these days. And that was very much the right thing to do, particularly as we all know that business is growing and expanding in these outer city areas for reasons of cost and accessibility.
Apart from the Middle East, if you could tell us which are the countries in specific that you operate?
As we said a few moments ago, what we started to do 2 or 3 years ago was to start responding to some of these inquiries that we had. And the first one was Kuwait, where we've been established now for, I think, about 3 years, possibly a little more, 3 or 4 years. We then talked about the expansion we did in the Comoros Islands let me think now, about 6-9 months ago. That was started. At the same sort of time, we also started a joint venture in Pakistan with a company called Pak Shaheen to operate a trucking company, a logistics company within Pakistan, which has been very successful. We're also looking at several other businesses in the Eastern Mediterranean, Turkey to be precise, and we hope to have some developments there very shortly in a variety of ways. There are 2 or 3 businesses we're looking at there. In the port and transport and logistics side. Also, we're looking at South Asia. India, of course, is a massive market and a massive opportunities. And Indian terminals, container terminals, have historically tended to lag a bit behind. They've made a lot of progress in recent years, but clearly there's a lot of scope for development in obviously the rapidly burgeoning Indian economy, certainly in the last 3 or 4 years. And about 2 weeks ago, in fact, we signed an agreement with a company called Lanco, which is an Indian company, a big Indian infrastructural and construction company, to jointly work together with them looking at projects in India and in other places as well. And that the 2 of us working together, I mean, again, I'm sorry to use the old cliches, but there is a lot of synergy between us. The 2 of us working together, our expertise, their expertise in various fields, we think there's a lot we can do together, looking at projects, port, transportation projects in India and elsewhere. So we are very much widening our scope, and we'll continue doing that over the next few years.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful time
Thank you.
It was a lot of information. It was really informative, and we look forward to associate with you in the future as well.
I look forward to it as well, and thank you very much.